Look at the shape of my smiley. Notice from being a perfect square, it starts to become a square with rounded edges. And then again, it comes back to being a square. So as the eyes are moving, in fact, the shape of the object is also changing continuously. This is another kind of animation we could do. As it turns out, while we build this, we will in fact encounter two more ideas for animations, which could also be quite interesting to you. Let's see how we did this. In fact, the idea is very similar to what we had done for the eyes animation. Remember, we had two functions, one draw smiley, one animate drawing. This animate drawing calls draw smiley with an input called offset, which controlled where the eyes were. Now we are just going to extend the same idea. I'm going to introduce one more input called the corner. And again, when I call this, it has to be with the corner. This corner will be updated inside this function and called again and again. So that's how the corner will be rounded. I mean, the corner input will be passed. And the corner, what it does is that it basically makes a square have rounded edges. The larger the corner, the more the rounding. We have seen this before, so I'm not going to go too detailed into this. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to start with the function where I have already modified the code to incorporate this rounded edges. Now look at the link that I'm posting here, to understand how this code is working. But basically I've added this corner input, and right now I'm calling this with corner of 0. Now let's say we want to animate this. So what I'm going to do is to define a variable called corner. Now notice we want this shape to become, so I'll start with 0. We want the shape to become rounded first and then square again, rounded, square, and so on and so forth. So which means the corner must increase and then it must decrease. So I'm going to call, make it global because I'm going to change this. And I'm also going to have a variable called corner, say, corner change. And this, let's say we can make it 5. The idea is this will determine how much the corner changes. So I just, again, has to be global because we'll change this inside the function. Now I want the corner to change. Oops, be careful here. I want the corner to change by corner change. So I go and say corner equals to corner plus corner change. Now remember that we want the corner to increase first and then decrease. So I just put a small condition here. I say if corner is greater than maybe 50, or if corner is less than say 5. Now these numbers are arbitrary, but the idea really is that we want corner to keep increasing, then keep decreasing, then keep increasing, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to say corner change is equal to -1 times corner change. Now what this does really is that it will make the corner change become say +5 to -5. So at first it'll increase, then it'll decrease, then -5 become 5 again, and so on and so forth. Just think a little bit about this. It's this will be clear. And over here I go and call my function with corner. Now if I stop this and run this again, in fact something very interesting starts to happen. As I told you, en route this solving this problem, we will create some other animations which could also be interesting in their own right. So here is one of them. Notice what's happening now. It looks like my smiley is kind of growing ears which are increasing, kind of tilts into them and then brings them back again. So why did this happen and what went on here? Remember that when we drew the smiley, every time when we're drawing the smiley, the last thing we are doing is to draw this smile. Now, as you can see, the smile, in fact, the turtle is still visible. Notice that the turtle heading is in fact upwards, or say 90. So now what happens is when I call this function again through the animation, in fact, the turtle is pointing in this direction. Turtle moves. So turtle starts somewhere here. It moves to this point. But then what happens? It basically, it makes a clockwise circle and it ends up going somewhere here. And that's exactly what's going on. So it reaches here, it ends up going somewhere here. All I really need to do is to make sure that the heading becomes 0 when I want to start this again. Because remember, heading has become 90. So I'll, really what I'll do is that I'll just say, before I start doing anything, I'll just say, when I put the pen down, I'll just go and say t dot set heading to 0. Now, with this done, now notice my turtle is indeed doing the shape rightly because the heading is set correctly. In fact, we have got another idea for an animation that this boundary seems to become more and then seems to become a little bit less. Basically, the drawing is being drawn again and again, and the previous drawing is still visible. So that's why we are getting this effect. Looks quite interesting. But let's say we don't want this to happen. All we need to do is that we can come in here, and in the beginning we can just clear the screen. So I just say t dot clear, and if I did this, notice now my drawing behaves exactly as I intended it to. The shape becomes rounded, and then becomes a square, becomes rounded again, and so on and so forth. I hope you found this interesting. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.